to the 40k Fireside podcast, where we discuss everything to do with competitive Warhammer 40k with your hosts Vik Vijay and David Gaylard. And we're back. Episode 65. Hello everyone, Vik and Dave here.
Whoa. Got him. 65 of the main podcast.
65 of the main channel podcast, and we're working our way through these, Dave.
Damn,
and I kind of feel a bit nostalgic because this is our roots, man. We are talking about a tournament that we're going to go to, looking at the meta, looking at some interesting lists, discussing our lists as well. That's what this episode is
our
about.
Bread and butter.
We've got the Nottingham Super Major, which is a 400-person super major coming up this weekend.
How many times have you played Nottingham, Vic? Have you played it?
I played it once.
Oh
no, twice.
Twice. Yeah, twice for me. So it's a tournament we've both been to quite a few times, and it's always a little bit unique, isn't it? Because you have it's a 400-player 5-round cutoff to top 4, which means there's always 12 undefeated players or something. So it's a little bit unique in that sense. You really got to grind for every point.
Yeah, and Nottingham wasn't the time the Desolation Marines come into action. That was Manchester. Yeah. But I wanted to do some housekeeping before we kind of dived into everything. I wanted to give a massive shout out to the members. The membership for Fireside has been amazing, and I'm so happy that people have found value in the extra content that we've been doing. It looks like the little niches in terms of the factions we have, and at the moment, particularly Eldar and Guard have been massive. Loads of people have wanted to see our deep dives into it, but also the sisters videos. All the stuff we've been doing on the member side has been really valuable, and thank you to everyone who continues to support us with that. If you are interested, we have our membership, and I want to give a big shout out to the people who are on the Discord. So there's another level of membership where you join the Discord. You guys have been asking some great questions, sending pictures of your deployment, asking us for critique, and we're super happy to help anyone who was interested in that.
Yeah, we have actually the Discord community is super awesome. We have 35 people there, and it's just really condensed discussions. And most people that are playing there are playing on a pretty regular basis. So yeah, it's a good place to touch wood, talk about your list designs, bounce some ideas off people. And we've got a pretty global array of people, I would say there, right? We've got people from USA, Canada, Europe.
Australia.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Vik's, my favorite piece of content for December, which was our most popular members video, was actually Vik's Eldari deployment video that he did recently. It was really good. And we both do those styles of videos where we jump on TTS, working through play patterns for turn 1 and early turns, and where to put the centerpiece unit. So the Eldar community in our Discord and our members section was blowing up about that. They're a dedicated, loyal fan base, those guys. So I want to give a big shout out to John Wiggins, who is a member in our Discord as well. Shouting him out, he's sending me some Krieg and some Scions, so helping me out prep for Nottingham that I'm going to be using. So fellow guard player, giving the love. So thanks a lot, bro. Appreciate it.
And speaking about Nottingham lists, we are going to talk about what we're bringing to Nottingham, but on the members side, both of us are going to be doing a video which will come out kind of roughly at the same time as this video, just a bit more of a deep dive into all of the list design and why we chose each unit and how we plan on playing with them.
Yeah, nice. All right, without further ado, let's jump in Nottingham. This is the first tournament of the year, and it's a big super major that occurs before the ITC cutoff, if you're one of those players that are kind of going for high ITC rankings, and then LVO is next weekend. So kind of back-to-back series of tournaments there. I remember when Vik and I did the ITC grind a couple of years back. We played Nottingham, then next 3 days later, fly over to Vegas to go play and stuff. So yeah, we've seen some interesting developments so far. I think on a whole, and the tournaments that have been played last weekend, we've seen almost everyone is playing the new detachment for whatever faction they have, more or less, right? And not really a huge surprise, right, Vik? I think most of the detachments are pretty good and the meta is quite even. So, yeah, you want to go to a tournament and try out your new toys, right?
Yeah, I think any faction which has a viable grotmas detachment, people are all over it and they want to give it a go. So we should see that trend, at least in the short term.
Yeah, for sure. And Nottingham is really hard to get tickets for, which I think is a good indicator. I think it had a 1% player, 2% player dropout as well, which is very low. I think normally you can benchmark around 10%. So a lot of players keen to play, play the new model. So I think that's a big win for Games Workshop. Means that I think grotmas was the coolest time for reveals, I think, and the most excitement for a December period I've played Warhammer with as well.
Yeah, and there's an extremely varied meta with the kind of top players, the people's names that you normally see trying a wide variety of factions,
Yep.
as well as some kind of creative stuff as well. So I think it should be a very interesting tournament, and probably actually significantly being the biggest tournament that's happened since the balance update.
Definitely.
It
Yep.
should be very good data for people to follow after this.
For sure. So let's jump into the quote unquote meta. Uh, I'm not gonna lie, but I kind of nailed it on the head when I said what the most popular factions would be for the UK.
You
Now
kind of
just
did,
looking at it,
yeah.
I said Marines, I said Necrons, I said Tyranids, and I said Custodes. Those are
Bang.
my big four that I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure those are going to be very popular. There was one I also said caveat though, Grey
Mhm.
Knights and Demons were going to be quite popular, so I missed the mark on that a little bit. But definitely those ones that I was expecting that have historically, I think, been quite popular in the UK and have a low entry to barrier kind of model count. Yeah, really popular. And so it's always good to anticipate the meta, what you think it's going to be, and then transition that into a tournament as well. And the good players, well, the very very well known players are distributed among those factions. But we're going to see in a bit there's a bit of discrepancy between what the very top elite players are taking and the bulk majority of the meta as well, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, is there? I'm trying to see. I'm trying to find sisters. They're way down there.
They
They've
got
dropped
seven
off a
players.
cliff. Yeah. Oh, well, I think sisters still have some play in Hallowed Martyrs, so I hope some of them are bringing that. I don't think they'll be bringing the new detachment, but yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big drop off for them.
Mhm.
But I agree with you, Dave. I can't believe the Grey Knights aren't more popular. I feel that's a very click and play kind of
Yeah.
army.
Kind of surprised. And low model count, I thought it'd be pretty easy.
Easy peasy.
You got
Just
any other things that were really surprising to you?
No, I think it's pretty much up there. I'm very surprised that Dark Angels has 22. Am I
That is
missing
surprising.
something with that
Yeah.
particular faction? Are there a lot of Dark Angels fans? Maybe that's what it is.
Keep talking. I'm going
Uh,
to do some research.
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on with the list design with Dark Angels. If maybe we've missed something, because 22 players just on Dark Angels is so high
That's
for
a
any
lot.
single faction.
Yep.
Um,
It's a good comfort pick, though, isn't it? Like, so I'm going to look at
mm,
a guy called Jay Seabum, who
mm,
has played, and I played against him recently, but I know he's been playing Dark Angels for Sea Baron. Sorry, I know he's been playing Dark Angels for a long time, and he is rocking just for a thing. He's got the Lion, fair enough.
yes.
Ezreal, 10 Deathwing Knights, ICC, some Predators, Vindicators, and a Calidus Assassin. So he's not going for the +1 to wound Dark
No.
Angels sort of thing, which a lot of Marine players are going for these days at the moment.
Is it in Gladius?
This is Gladius, yeah. So
Okay.
pretty all rounded.
It's pretty, yeah, just standard, isn't
Yeah,
it?
just pretty,
Ah, fair enough.
nothing like that's Storm Raven, for example, right? Or not the new detachment.
Mm.
So yeah, but playing the
Be-
line, it's pretty sweet.
because the Ultramarines are going to be sitting in that first category there.
Yes.
There may be a little mix within that. So it looks like Ultramarines are almost as popular, probably, as Dark Angels here, most
Yeah.
likely, which is surprising for me. I would have expected to see the Dark Angels play shift over to Ultramarines here and
Yeah.
just gain the +1 to wound.
So if we
Uh,
look at it, if you're looking at it from like a very macro tournament perspective, now obviously there's a bit of difference between kind of the Necron, the Space Marine chapters, but I think it's about 77 players are playing Marines or some variation of Marines, which is pretty bonkers. Like Marines are usually the most popular faction as a super faction, right? As we group them together. But this is 3 times more popular than Necrons, which are already very popular as well. So expect a lot of Marines, a lot of mech profiles.
mhm.
So maybe Plasma's looking kind of good there. I don't know. Striking
Maybe, or
Scorpions?
maybe it's like the striking scope. Yes, come on. Maybe it's the slightly more vehicles and stuff as well, because you saw
True.
some vindicators and things. So
Yep.
that top section is very heavy on big stuff, I think.
Ooh, big stuff. Got to be able
Um,
to hit him.
yeah, all the way down to the Chaos Space Marines there.
Yep.
It's a lot of big stuff.
A lot of big stuff. So you got to make sure that although we'll see where the guard lines up, because
Mm,
I think there's probably a situation here of model availability that might
mm,
impact what people can bring, because the new detachment is quite model intensive, I think, and
mm,
especially if you want to play like the very different builds, for example, like
mhm.
my list that we'll go through in a bit. But yeah, I mean, Necron's super popular. I think people, if you're a previous Necron player, you really want to go and have fun with your Star Shatter list, right? I think they play super well on UKTC as well. Tyranids, which we thought after in one of the grotmas reviews, I said Invasion Fleet was looking in a really good spot because a lot of the meta had shifted down. Invasion Fleet had really just stayed standard. And if you're in a vehicle meta, Invasion Fleet, or an infantry meta, Invasion Fleet really does give you that capability of being, okay, lethals against vehicles or sustained against infantry. So in a skew meta, I think Invasion Fleet's really cool.
Yeah.
And I guess the maps have changed a little bit for Nottingham as well, which is quite a big impact on this meta. The Crucible of Battle map is significantly more passive and defensible now. So I think that might change on how, whether you want to play like a more melee orientated list or if you want to play a more scoring orientated list as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is interesting, Dave. Our armies. So Dave's bringing the Guard. I'm bringing the Eldar to this event, and they're right up there, man. They're popular.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna bring out an interesting stat here. Actually, this graph is not completely up to date. Eldari is in fact more popular than Guard.
Yes.
And Death Guard is more popular than Guard as well. There are 21
yeah.
respective players in each of those factions as well. So the people who didn't list their faction, there are three. I think three of them were Eldari, and three of them were Death Guard as well. So you know, Eldari's made a huge comeback, man.
That's a spike in popularity there.
You've been influential,
Mate,
obviously.
I'm telling you, Eldar are, just above the middle here in terms of where they're going to sit. And I think that is enough for all the Eldar players to come back and be like, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. Because I think the mechanics of that army is perfect for this meta. Even against the very top end here, there is play. Sure, you might be a little bit under the curve if you're playing against orcs or something. You might be a bit behind, but that doesn't mean you're out of the game. You're going to have a good time and a fun tournament, and your skill is going to reap rewards with this army now.
You're probably gonna lose because of your own mistakes, right?
Oh yeah, so I think you could lose anyway.
Yeah.
But there is a world where you win because of your glorious Eldar superiority. And that is a dream all Eldar players live for.
Man, the comments after the match, man, I outplayed this guy so bad. I had this sick turn where I was like, Phantasm forward, get him out to range, shoot fire and fade, take his home field objective. We all know. We've all been there, mate. We've all heard it in the lunchroom.
I'm excited.
The vehicle meta is a lot better for Eldar in particular, right? Because it really turns on some of their best data sheets already, like more incentive to play them, right? Like you want to play Fuegan, you want to play and a lot of people I think in whole, a lot of the meta is kind of like, has that 5 to 6 vehicle kind of shell, like core part, and then it has a little amount of chaff around the outside, right? And the little amount of chaff is usually like a unit of 3, a unit of 5, where like your striking scorpions now can like actually kill in one go, and they haven't got like, it's not a unit of 6 where striking scorpions are going to be like, oh yeah, I killed 3 out of 6, and then his unit was still alive, and then it didn't achieve what I needed it to, right? Like you can actually like trade up on those, or trade evenly on those parts, even on the like the chaff part, which you really want to do with Eldar.
So, like looking at like the top 5 armies here, I think Eldar have a good chance into those.
Must be good at the Space Marines, surely, right?
Surely, right? Surely. Yeah. I mean, you can lose that game. No doubt that game is losable. But that's what you want to turn up. You want to hit 5 Ultramarines players and be like, okay, I've got the upper hand on you here. But then as it goes down and you see like CSM, you see these kind of big guard body lists, and then you get orcs, and it starts to fall a little bit apart when you get less and less vehicles showing up. But that's fine. It doesn't have to beat everything. It just has to be cool doing it.
And it's not as if you're like mega unfavored in those matchups too, right?
Exactly.
Like,
there is a path to victory.
Especially if you're playing some spicy Eldar units, I think as well.
Oh yeah.
Nice. So I'm playing Guard, of course, as well. We'll go over our list in a second here. But yeah, it's really interesting to see like Guard. So we had some statistics come out today from some smaller tournaments that Guard do quite well. I think that Guard's a really interesting one. I think it's quite tricksy, but I think it is quite easy to tech against and beat if you just want to dedicate some units to it. And sort of in addition to that, I think that once you've had 1 or 2 games against it, you do understand kind of play patterns to beat it as well. So it's going to be an interesting one. I remember Grey Knights when they came out in the start of 10th edition, I think, were really powerful, and a lot of people were like, man, this army's super good. And then it just really started to continuously drop off after that, because it was an army that had quite a few tricks, and if you played against it, the more times you played against it, the more equity you could get against it as well. So that's how I found it a little bit. And it can be a little bit prone to whiffing and stuff, but all in all, it's a completely different archetype to how you would previously play. So it's good fun, to say the least. Yeah,
I think it'll be more popular amongst good players, actually. Interestingly,
so?
because I think people will be tempted to try to play and collect the Scion list compared to the normal guard list.
Really?
Or maybe I'm just kind of reflecting myself out into the world, because Scions are so cool. They're unbelievably cool.
Yeah.
So, I could see myself. And also, like, Deep Strike armies are cool as well.
Yeah,
so...
they're cool. Yeah. The Death Corps of Krieg is a new line coming out as well, which I'm using heavily as well. But I am playing, spoiler alert, 130 models in just infantry. So I have quite a lot. I've gone a different end of the spectrum to the entire meta. So hopefully my opponent doesn't have Gladiator Reapers, but, yeah. Although, having said that, the last tournament we played, I think Guard was the most popular faction. Well, it was the most popular faction at WCW, right? So
look at the drop off,
so it's been a huge drop off. The Aquilons, and then they had about 140 points come on top of the index detachment as well. So it's been a big curtailing, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. Well, I guess we've had a big meta shift, right? If we think about Warhammer World Champs, it's been pretty big, right? Like, we thought, I'm trying to think back then, obviously Guard was up there. I think CSM was up there. Necron's Hypercrypt was still up there as well. So, Necrons and Custodes are looking in completely different flavors. So that's a good thing to see as well.
Yeah, this is a completely new look list, to be honest.
Yeah, and still relatively flat as well, right?
I think so.
Nice, cool.
One I wanted to bring up was the GSC.
Yeah, okay.
Which I think not many people have really talked about since the changes. So I'm really curious to see how the Genestealer cult players do with their new rules. But
I think you and I were sitting on the opposite sides of the fence on that one, right? I thought the new detachment rule was significantly worse than their existing one.
And I thought there's still some play in it. But yeah, I think you're probably right here. There's a little bit of overwhelmingness that has disappeared a little bit now.
Because I didn't even think about that, because GSC was mega popular as well, right? Very straightforward, direct game plan as well. A guy called Appa in our Discord thought I'd just jump on this question now. Was asking, you might cover any surprise or detachments, but any armies we could see well that are going under the radar. Ooh, bit of spice there. What do you think? I mean, I guess if we're looking at the bottom end of this, I think AdMech is underrated there for sure.
Where are they?
They're 9 players.
They are.
Still think Skitarii Hunter Cohort is the most powerful build there. But the new Halo one is good as well. And I think Imperial Knights are a little bit better than what people think. And I think Chaos Knights are better than what people think as well, for sure.
I think Chaos Demons are really good at the moment.
Yeah.
But they are still up there, I guess.
So yeah, smack bang middle of the pack.
Good number, yeah.
There's one person in Slaanesh as well who's just put Slaanesh. So they're actually above Grey Knights in popularity.
I think it's pretty much like it's kind of represented really well across the board, just because it's so close.
Yeah, I think Death Guard are quite good at the moment as well. So I'll be interested to see. That's an interesting faction where are you going to play the new detachment or are you going to play the original detachment? Because both I think are really good actually. The Fly Blown Host or the Index detachment for Contagion Aura.
So I have a thing with Death Guard because a lot of like brilliant players keep telling me Death Guard are really good, and I think they are technically good, but for some reason they can't win tournaments.
Doesn't seem to translate very well.
It doesn't seem to translate into the results.
I think it's kind of the Chaos Knight effect to some degree, I genuinely think that faction is quite good, but a lot of people don't enjoy playing that, and it almost has zero representation at the very highest level of play. Players picking it as well. Yeah. So there we go. That's Nottingham. So maybe we should go over each of our lists first, just a show of what we've taken, and there we go. I'm going to click it over. I'm going to bring up your list in a second.
It's my one first. Okay.
Ooh, you can go first. Got that spicy.
Oh, it's not much to scroll down, mate. It's quite quickly. Oh, I forgot
Did
to
you
put
need to
an
paint any
Eldar quote.
models to get your stuff ready?
I had to rebase some of my models to 28
Okay,
millimeter
nice.
bases,
Pretty
but
simple.
otherwise, I did paint one model. It was another Corsair squad.
Yeah, cool save Void Reavers. Pretty sick.
Cool. Okay, so I'm battle host. I'm not playing the grotmas detachment, which is
Mm.
kind of trash.
Yep.
But this list is heavily inspired by Ed Watts.
Yep.
I started off with my base list building, not even considering Ed's list, and slowly, as I got closer and closer to his list, I eventually cracked and was like, Ed, why have you picked what you picked? Talk to me. And he ran me through a few bits and pieces, and I put my very small twist
Mm-hmm.
on his list design. So props to
Nice.
him for that one. We've got two. We've got a bunch of characters. So we've got the Autark and Fuegan. The Autark is on foot here and
Ooh.
has the Phoenix Gem, and
Mm.
both of those units get back up on a 2+.
Yep.
We've then got a Farseer who combines with the Avatar of Cain for -1 to wound, and we've got a Death Jester, little lone up, who's got Fate's Messenger for flipping a dice to a 6. That is
Nice.
about my only real anti-infantry in the list. Is that one Death Jester? And then we've got a number of battle line units. Actually, I'm not used to running so much battle line, but Eldari battle line is okay now. We've got the Corsair Void Reavers. I'm running 2 units of 5 Corsair Void Reavers with blasters
Mm-hmm.
and a unit of 10 Storm Guardians, a unit of 10 Guardian Defenders. The Autark can join the Storm Guardians, and the Farseer can join the Guardian Defenses if he wants to.
Nice.
We've then got a unit of Striking Scorpions, a unit of Swooping Hawks, and we've got 2 Warwalkers with Bright Lancers, and a Wraith Knight as well with 2 heavy
Ooh.
Wraith Cannons.
Sorry, I was looking at my
Yep,
phone.
no
Wraith Knight.
worries.
Oh, the Wraith Knight's pretty spicy, right? He's actually quite good.
He's actually quite good. You know, his base is like weirdly small.
Yeah.
And it's not small, but it's like it weirdly fits into all the nooks and crannies in UKTC quite nicely.
Nice.
And with towering, it's really good on the firing lines in UKTC.
There we go.
So
Look, I'm
yeah,
gonna have to do something a little bit embarrassing. I'm gonna have to
what have
take
I
a call
done?
really, really quick.
Oh
But I'll be
yeah.
right back. But you just keep spiraling on your list for just a second. I'll be right back.
Oh my gosh, guys. Okay. All right. I can't even scroll up and down, but so so on the Eldar members video, I did do one on deployment, which was on a slightly older list design. So I'll talk about my list design progression while Dave is taking his phone call. And I started off with 10 Wraithguard in the list. And I was umming and ahhing between 10 Wraithguard with the Spirit Seer versus the Avatar and Fuegan. And they come up to roughly the same number of points. The Avatar and Fuegan is like a tiny bit cheaper, and it was extremely close. But there's a particular moment in these kinds of control lists where you need to be able to kind of clear a little bit in the middle of the board. And the Wraithguard are good at that, but they also have a little bit of weirdness in it. They can shoot their guns and then charge in, put lots of OC on an objective. But the Avatar and Fuegan can kill the things that are in front of them. And I found in a lot of kind of like my practicing with this, the Avatar and Fuegan kind of work together as this little combo wombo in the middle, with the Avatar providing the threat and Fuegan actually going and doing stuff before the Avatar then activates later in the game. So I ended up going with the Avatar and Fuegan instead of the 10 Wraithguard, and I'm quite happy with where the list ended up. It did go to Ed's variant rather than my one with that. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Ed did have some warp spiders, but I kind of like the Storm Guardian unit. I think that plus the Autark is one of the best combinations that the Index has to offer at the moment.
Spicy. All right, we're gonna have to be right back. So we're gonna cut to an intermission, and then
Mhm.
we're gonna come back and record the second half of it.
Sure.
Be right back, guys. Make sure you check out our other content on YouTube at 40k Fireside. We also have a YouTube member section with exclusive content on 40k strategy, tactics, and faction deep dives. For more information on our one-to-one coaching and masterclasses, get in touch with links in the description. All right, we're back. We're live. Sorry about that. Little bit of technical difficulty on that front, but back to it. All right, there we go. So Vic's just gone through his list, and let's talk through mine. So I guess you've got quite a bit of spice in your list, and I had a few games to go through mine. I probably didn't get as much practice as I liked, but I was already starting from a pretty solid base, and I had quite a bit of time to think about the differences that I wanted and look at a few games and stuff like that. So, kind of based on my testing, this is where I got to, and I've kind of gone a lot different route from where a lot of people have ended up. I think if I looked at the other guys in the tournament, and although there was one that won a tournament last weekend that did quite well, this ended up to be quite similar to mine as well. So, well, ours were quite similar, so to speak. So, pretty happy with where it ended up. But I still think there's a bit of optimization that could be done as well. But I'm taking a few things because I like them too. Okay. First of all, of course, we've got Iron Hands Dragon, 55-point model with 2 orders. Scout 6, just a little action monkey guy, has a little bit of counterpunch. Gaunt's Ghost, which are really, really good at the moment, and the new detachment, just good in general. And a load op is always really powerful as well, especially with Infiltrate as well. Ursula Creed, she's really good in the list. She gives you a free strat every turn, so she's a Hive Tyrant ability on a 55-point character within 12 inches, and she can almost target everything from your army. So previously, you could only target, you can only target regiment things, but because you're only basically playing regiment stuff now, and the new detachment, she's just like lets you pump out CP like no tomorrow.
Nice.
I've got 2 Deathcore Marshals, which give a 5-up Feel No Pain, and I'm playing 40 Deathcore after that. I've got 3 Militarum Command Squads. You're basically always going to see these guys, and 3 of them is the max you can play. I'd play more if I could, probably. They're just like the 70-point command unit that gives your Scion unit, probably gives them 3 special weapons, and it gives them the command rod. So that means they can be affected by 2 orders. And then on top of that, they give you sustained hits. So they like crank out the damage really heavily. So I've got one with the upgrade for triple order, and I find that's really good. You could maybe argue that you don't need the Gaunt's Ghosts if you're going to go for the triple order guy. A little bit of optimization there you can maybe get, maybe. And I've gone for my one and only vehicle, one single tank commander.
Oh, that's my only target.
Tank commander. There we go. You can use all your anti-tank on my tank commander.
Shoot.
And he's got to be in strategic reserve most of the game, and then rapid ingressing and shooting once anyway. So have fun. So trying to obviously skew a little bit there. And I really like one tank commander because there's a 1 CP advance and shoot strat. So you can really just sink it into that one unit really efficiently. Bring him in from strategic reserve, like rapid ingress him, and then +1 to hit, and then advance and shoot him onto your opponent's deployment objective and expansion objective or something like that. Or if you really need some like reactive pressure, like bring him in onto your expansion. So just the one guy, and he's going to be off the board most of the time. So
no plasma cannons? You went for the multi-melter on it?
Multi-melter, because if you get up close and personal, you want to melt some people, right? And, it's a little bit like the vehicle meta, right? Like, if you've got like Grey Knights, for example, with just 2-up saves, or you've got like NDKs, multi-melter is super good against them. Can almost just shred one in one go. So if you play him from reserve, multi-melter is going to be in half range, and then advance and shoot. Works out kind of nice. You don't want to go like, I found the list can lack a bit of anti-tank. So if your anti-tank is like you arriving from reserves and shooting your tank commander, that can kind of work out quite well. Nice. 2 units of 10 Catachan Jungle Fighters. Despite them going up, they're still like the best 10-man 2 OC unit that you want to play. So that's good. Then I've got 2 big units of the 20 Deathcore. Oh, mate. Eldar's worst nightmare right here.
Oh, no. I haven't got enough guns.
I've got the 2 Melter, 2 Plasma, and the 2 Grenade Launcher set up, and 2 Plasma Pistols, 2 Power Weapons, and then the Captain on top of that. So they're a 20-man unit, and you basically always put +1 save on like your whole army anyway. So they have like a 4-up base save, 5-up Feel No Pain, and if you're in cover, you're on a 3-up effectively. So it can be quite hard to chew through, and they're quite good at doing secondaries in the early game. If you need to like get area denial, you can just put 3 of them out there, and then you're exposing yourself on an objective. They can shoot you. You lose like 7 or 8 guys, and then you could shoot back what they killed your Deathcore with, and you can respawn onto the point as well. So the respawn there is quite nice. It's really hard to attack your opponent's primary when you've got just 20 Deathcore sitting on your expansion objective. Like that's like 60 OC, and they can regenerate. So good luck. And at the same time, they can kind of like pressure your opponent's OC. So yeah, a lot of people were like either playing one of these units. And the thing that I realized, and this is kind of common in Warhammer, is that the second unit is often more than twice as good than the first unit. You know what I mean, Vik? Like one unit, they're kind of like, okay, cool, I can dedicate this part to shoot that unit, and I can will it down. That's what I want to do. But then the second unit is a little bit more like free to roam, so to speak, and you can make stuff happen with the second unit a lot more. So yeah, I liked having two a lot more than having just one, like more than twice as much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 scions. So I'm playing 40 scions. I've got 2 with the melter and 2 with the volley. I really wanted to play 1 with the flamer, actually, weirdly enough, because I wanted to rapid ingress, Overwatch with +1 to wound with the flamers and the volley guns, or flamers and plasmas post probably, and then pay 1 CP to bring them back up in a turn. So you can still do that. It's 3 CP. It's basically your only really good play against melee armies.
That's
But
cool, though.
yeah, that's kind of what I wanted. So I wanted to try the flamer up, but I wasn't really sure about it. So we just went with the plasma and the melter. I was for a long time playing only plasma and volleys, but I thought given the meta, I just wanted to rock up with a couple of melter guns, and it looks like it's turned out pretty good because it's going to be useful against a lot of the high end of the meta there. And then we've got a field ordnance battery. I'll get to that in a second. 2 units of Ogrins and 1 unit of Aquilons. So the Aquilons, pretty good in this detachment, actually.
Oh.
Now, I said I wouldn't play them in the index. They went up too many points, and I probably still wouldn't. But in this detachment, you can order them quite consistently after they've dropped, and they get that +1 to wound, which is really nice. And then they also get reroll 1s to hit. So they hit a lot harder than they previously did, which means it's kind of nice. And then they have a 6-inch drop, which means that you can double up your 6-inch drops on the turn you want to drop them. So a nice little chaff piece of unit. The Sentry Flame is good on them as well. And, with reroll 1s to hit, and oftentimes hitting on 2s, their damage goes up a lot more than it previously did. And I've got a 1 CP strat where you can get +1 strength and +1 AP on the guns. So nice, and that strat's really, really powerful. So nice unit of Aquilons. Now I've got the Ogrins there, just a little bit of value, a little bit of tanky dudes. They still get 18 shots in within 9 inches, and then they just hit on 4s, rerolling 1s. So they still do a lot of damage. If you can, oftentimes they're a unit that's like sits back behind your Death Core and your other units, and when your opponent comes in, they're untagged in your turn, and you just like shoot right in front of you to clean up what's in front of you. And then I've got the Field Ordnance Battery. Like I said, a lot of people were playing like mortars, which are good, of course, but I really wanted to have a damage to indirect, especially because infiltrators are a big problem for the army. Infiltrators are really, really good against the army because they block 12 inches and all your rapid fire happens within 12 inches. So your Scion unit literally does a third of its damage if you're not within 12. So if your opponent walks onto the board and then runs all their infiltrators out on turn 3, then they can screen you a lot and stuff like that. So I wanted a piece of indirect that's going to chip away specifically at infiltrators really effectively to begin with. And they hit on 4s, reroll 1s, and they have sustained 6s. So they do quite a good damage, actually. And Ursula Creed, you oftentimes want to use free strats on her. So you can roll 2d6 for their number of shots. And if you roll like a 6 and a 1, which is like pretty average, or a 5 and 2, then you can reroll that 2 with a command point reroll for free, and just to upgrade your shot count a bit more.
Nice.
Yeah, so
it's clever.
Yeah, it's 130 dudes, and I'm here to play 5 honest turns of Warhammer and try and score more primary, more secondary points than my opponent.
I'll play the Ultramarines players.
Yes.
You deal with the rest.
Well, I don't really want like the Orc players and the Blood Angels players, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I mean, I love this, Dave. I think this is like a really innovative way of building this, and it's going to be interesting to see how many people follow that, because I think the Death Core of Krieg are your signature twist on this design, which we're not going to see much of at this tournament, probably.
It is a lot to bring to the table. It is still 130 models that you need to paint, get ready. And even I didn't have because most people, you would have only had 30 Scions, right, in your collection. So a lot of people wouldn't have like 45, 55 Scions lying around, right? So I think the hobby time is going to need to catch up for this attachment quite a bit as well. And I'm not playing any melee at all. I've just completely forgotten that plan. I'm like, it's not even worth investing in. If my opponent has melee capability, I just need to suck it up and take the hits as much as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think this list archetype has an advantage versus the entire meta. But I think you can play into anyone and you can dig yourself out of problems. You might have a couple of uphill matches. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Innes Wilson has a list that maybe we could segue that onto right now, maybe.
Yeah, let's see it. Let's see what he's coming up with.
So speaking of other innovative people,
He always comes up with some crazy stuff, doesn't he?
he always
And
is
then,
great. He's very, very good at marine list building as well,
and then
historically.
all of a sudden, look, he's bringing Blood Angels. Now we're going to see 100 of those at the next tournament, aren't we?
Yeah, he'll be the chapter master for Blood Angels. So he, like a lot of marine players nowadays, they're kind of going for that, chapter supplement, Blood Angels, whatever, but they're playing no Blood Angels characters, right, Vic?
Oh, that's such a cool idea.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's interesting because Blood Angels do have some cool named characters and cool named units and
Mhm.
stuff. But yeah, to completely bin it off and just say, look, I'm going to get another source of +1 to wound. Fair enough. It's Innis, so it
Yep.
must be good.
Yep.
And that's when we start looking further into the list. It's
Yep.
Liberator Assault Group, which
Yep.
is the pseudo index detachment with the +2 strength, +1 attack.
Yep.
And it's just got massive MSU. Has he got many infiltrators in there?
Unfortunately, he does, yes. This list is not going to be... I'm not going to be very good against this list for a couple of reasons. So 2 captains. The Rageful Warrior is like the Sustain 3, I think, one. Enhancement there. So they hit really hard. Librarian Phobos Armor. This is not the Lieutenant.
Sustain 3.
Sustain 3, right, yeah. No. What does the Libyan Phobos Armor do?
It stops you from being shot within a certain range, I think.
I thought that was the Lieutenant.
I'll do a fact check while you do the rest.
I think you might be right. If that's true, that is extremely good against my list. That basically fucks me completely. So you'd have to like rapid ingress and then shoot it early on, for example. Okay.
Yeah. Models in the unit gain stealth and cannot be targeted unless you're within 12.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's the one you play with the infiltrator.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's like I said, like if you think about guard and you think about how can you just have a massive edge against them, yeah, simply just having that unit is like extremely powerful against your army. It's a 6-man unit that drops is 12-inch deep denial as well, which is massive. Okay, okay. 1 assault intercessor. So three units of chaff so far. 2 impulsors. So kind of 3 units of chaff, 2 transports. 1, 2, 3. 3, so 6 units of combat skirmishing. A unit of 5 desolation marines.
Oh, with oath, not bad.
Ooh, okay. 1 Incurser squad for +1 to hit. 2 units of infiltrators, a Reaver squad for OC denial, a scout squad. He's gone for the Stern Guard squad as well.
Oh, okay.
And then
get some
2 Vindicators just to round out and add a bit of durability to the list.
Just a very cool take all comers kind of list, isn't it?
So very hyper MSU kind of Blood Angel style, right? And Adam from our Discord community has been playing this type of list for a while, actually. So yeah, he's it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I mean, I think the new UKTC boards are, especially the Angular one, does lend itself a lot more to this kind of playstyle, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can kind of hide and just trade with small pieces. I think it's quite clever.
What do you think? How do you think you'd line up against this, though? You know?
So I don't like trading into... I mean, it shouldn't be unplayable. Absolutely not. It should be playable. But hopefully it should be a close game. But it's just whether or not I run out of trading pieces before he does, which I probably will. But
he does have a lot of trading pieces, yeah.
I do have a few trading pieces that just won't die. So, like, not trading pieces. I have a few pieces that may just never die. So, the Avatar of Cain might be quite good in this if I can just make sure the Assault Incessors aren't getting too many mortals in. It's just going to come down to a bit of play skill, but, that's definitely be an interesting game. I'm guessing the Guard players are not going to want to play this.
No. Well, the Desolation Marines get D3 plus 4 shots against my Krieg as well, which is suboptimal, I would say.
It's almost like he knew we have good Guard players in the meta.
The interesting thing is, the Vingal launcher is good as well. But at the same time, if I do go first, I can just shoot them. And they are just 2 win mech models, and I do have the Bombast field gun.
Hey, there you go. This is the moment.
Maybe those are the ones I target, and then I have to find out some other way to beat the infiltrators. But at the same time, I think it really depends on the map as well there. On the angular deployment, he might struggle to attack the expansion objective if I can just dump enough OC on it, but then he'd have really good secondary play as well. So, yeah. He still has to come across the map when the deployment zones are quite far apart, but in a mission like Search and Destroy, it could be very hard to beat, I think.
Yeah, I think he's going to... he always does really well, but yeah. This is a cool list. I'll be excited to see if he hits a counter. He makes it all the way.
How do you even counter it? The uncounterable. There we go. And it's Wilson. So, next up, maybe let's look at Brian's list.
Brian, yeah. The tactics.
Oh, the Orc war boss himself. Mate. Orc Tactics. Tactical Brigade. This list is pretty good, man. I've had the mercy of this list unleashed upon me from Brian, and orcs are pretty good, man. Like
Are they good? Is this?
yeah. This list
Yeah.
is good. Basically, it's a shooting list. It's actually a relatively balanced list, actually, I would say. Uh, Breaker Boys are super, super good. Do you know that? Oh my
Yeah, they're
word, dude!
like the
Like, if they could think of
anti-vehicle melee unit, right?
yeah, and they're like damage 3. They are like the perfect printed unit for orcs to ever get. Like, you could not design a unit that they need more than Breaker Boys. They're like, okay, you don't have anti-tank that's not in a character that you can just like deploy on the battlefield and then charge someone with. Okay, here's a 6-man unit that's like all anti-tank, and these guys like one-shot tank commanders like no tomorrow.
Right.
So really, really good. So the list is basically the 3 big mechs can join the tank busters. Tank busters are like a shooting unit. They have like D3 rocket shots. And then when they join that, they can have 2 orders, like guard style orders. But the orders are super good. You can have stealth, which is cover and -1 to hit, and +1 to hit as well. So the army basically like hits on 4s, but has way more shots than it should, and is like significantly harder to kill from shooting because it's always in cover and -1 to hit army wide basically. The Flash Gits have like mega insane Overwatch. They go with the big mech and mega armor, and the mech captain gives them +1 shot. I think if they're shooting the closest target, that might be the Flash Gits rule anyway. But
Okay.
they basically Overwatch you with damage too, and they have like 4 shots each, going to 5 shots or something. And I brought my Knight in versus Brian. He just 1 shot in Overwatch. I was like, okay, that's great. So I mean, huge brick there. Breaker Boys obviously really good, just with war bosses. They absolutely destroy anything they get in combat with. And you got 3 trucks on top of that. So these guys, tank busters and big mechs can play great from advancing or playing from outflank. You've got a huge flash kit unit which can jump in a truck, which I didn't know. It's crazy. And yeah, like with the warg change now, they can warg on their turn, so they can like advance. I think they have an advanced shoot stratagem in the army as well. So you can get out of a truck, advance and shoot, do a lot of damage, and then charge something else. Super, super good. Yeah.
And it also looks very nice, doesn't it? The way he's
Yeah.
like formatted is really nice. I like
Quite
it.
clean. That's your takeaway. Expert analysis. No, it's good. I mean, a lot of chaff units, like Burner Boys, Gretchen, Storm Boys, and you got the 3 trucks there as well. So quite good at doing secondaries as well. I think Brian's going to do really well.
Yes, come on, Brian.
There we go. Alrighty. Any list in particular you want to look
at? Should we look at the other Marines list? Let's have a look at Josh's.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, this is a good base archetype for people if they're interested in Ultramarines at the moment.
Yep.
He's gone for the Gladius Task Force. I think it's almost identical to the list he took to the last tournament.
Yeah, I guess so. No Uriel Ventress, I suppose, because it went up in points recently. Got the Marnius Calgar.
He's got Calgar in. Okay, so he's got Calgar and Gulliman in there.
Yep, Calgar Gulliman, so which is a lot of points in a couple of units. But then the triple Ballistas, Company Heroes, and Cursor Squad, and Infiltrator Squad, and then the triple Vindicator and the Callous Assassin.
Yeah,
so
it's clean. Really
it's clean. And if you were probably to describe the tournament like beforehand, this is probably like the most common list archetype I would say exists right now, right? It's like Ultramarines with Gilliman, some array of Vindicators and Ballistuses, right?
Yeah,
you should expect to like play against that quite often, I think.
This is just good, but I really feel like it's not too strong. I think it's incredibly like it's tuned up a lot, but I feel like the meta for some reason is going to be able to counter this list archetype.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see. I could be very wrong with that.
I'm a big fan of the Repulsor Executioner. I think that with Storm of Fire is bonkers damage. Because all of the small shots, like has like 30 small shots that basically now do double damage because they're +1 to wound, and they would otherwise wound on 6s. And then they also have +2 AP because you get ignore cover and +1 AP. So the damage output of that thing is crazy high. It's super good against guard as well. It's got a huge amount of shots, and then got the big shots. Really good. I also like the Storm Raven gunship as well because you can Storm of Fire it obviously as well. And it's pretty hard to kill. And then in addition, it can get around corners quite easily as well.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people get some success with the Iron Storm version of Ultramarines at the moment, just like really ramp up the output. This particular archetype, I don't know if it'll do well against the Guard, to be honest. It doesn't really have much volume in here.
It doesn't have volume, but like I said, they can tick very easily against it though, can't they? If all you do is sub out one of those platforms for a Gladiator Reaper, Reaper one-shots without even Oath a 15-man Zion squad, basically.
Wow, yeah.
And then, you want to hedge against that, you just put the the Librarian with Phobos armor with your infiltrators, and even harder to deal with after that.
Yeah.
So some pretty direct answers to my type of archetype, at least.
Yeah, I think Ultramarines have the ability to shift based on the meta here.
Yeah.
This is probably just our baseline level, and then we'll see. I think they are very good Ultramarines. So
I think Outriders are actually an interesting option as well.
mhm.
I know a coaching client of mine is playing a unit of 3 Outriders
Mhm.
pretty fast, and on the maps they can actually get across the midboard now. And they can get across the midboard. They got 2 OC each, and they go +1 strength and +1 damage on the charge.
Oh,
So with Oath, you get reroll hits and +1 to wound on your target. You can dive their expansion objective quite easily, especially with advance and charge, and then you get +1 damage and +1 to wound.
nice, useful,
Really cool.
useful cheap unit. Yep.
Yeah, only 80 points, so they're kind of equivalent to JPIs now, especially with the +1 damage change.
Same as 3 Eldar Windriders.
Ooh,
And 3 Eldar Windriders do not hit that hard.
They don't. They don't. Die, stupid elves. Alrighty, we've got so we've done Innes and Josh. Who should we go for next? We've got some up here.
Nassim, do you want to compare?
Oh yeah, let's go through Nassim's list. So Nassim's gone for a little bit of a different take. This is kind of where I was originally when I first started playing around with this list. Shit, this haven't said. So Nassim playing the command squad with the Bombast Enhancement. It's just super good value, solves a lot of problems. He's got 3 command squads, of course, 2 tank commanders, both multi-melters and Creed, of course. He's got 2 Catachans, 1 infantry squad. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, so 40 Scions, the same as me. He's mixed up 1 melter, 1 volley, which, if I'm going to nitpick,
Two plasma.
I would rather have full melter squads and then full volley squads, because then you want to emphasize +1 rapid fire is slightly more efficient. But at the same time, if you want to have squads be able to like string out and shoot a melter one direction, his list is that unit composition is a little bit better for that.
Is it because he's got the 2 tank commanders? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And then he's gone for 2 Tauroxes, a Taurox Prime. He's gone for the 3 heavy weapon squads, so these are the mortars, and 2 units of Aquilons. So I can understand why people like to play the Tauroxes and the Taurox Prime. But here's the thing. It becomes quite expensive when you consider the fact that killing a Taurox is like super easy, and this is the reason I didn't play them. Now, Nassim's list is a lot better at attacking your opponent's primary than my list is, for sure. He can just drive the Taurox with the Catachan Jungle Fighters, disembark them, and advance after shooting, shoot after disembarking, and then like maybe chuck a grenade or do something like that, right? But it's 130 points to do that, and if your opponent knows it's coming, they can maybe try and stack enough OC on their really defendable Crucible objectives, and maybe you don't even get that off. And the list I found, the Scion Detachment, it doesn't really trade up very effectively. It's either going to be the type of list where you're playing around dynamically around the board, achieving, like holding solid primary, doing secondaries really well, or you're going to drop all at once when your opponent missed positions and you can nuke them all at once. But once it's on the table, it's quite trivial to clean up. Although you obviously want to order +1 save as much as possible for your Scions and stuff. So it's interesting. I mean, a list like this, it obviously makes your opponent's anti-tank a lot more viable, a lot more easier to get value out of. So it'll be interesting to see how we both go. Obviously, Nassim's extremely good, so I'm sure we're both going to do quite well as well.
Yeah, I mean, still extremely scary for me.
I mean, because the Tauroxes are quite good against you for sure. They can just drive up to the ruin and disembark.
Exactly. The onboard kind of penetration that those guys give you is pretty terrifying.
They're pretty fast. Yeah. Nice. So we talked a lot about Necrons as well.
Oh yeah.
So maybe we could go. We're going to talk about Matt.
Matt. Oh, let me give a shout out for Matt as well once you guys list up.
Matt Bell.
So Matt Bell is Glasshammer Matt,
who comments on our videos a lot. Good guy.
Matt is awesome, and he has just started a podcast called the Command Protocols Podcast on YouTube. He literally just started. They posted their first video, and he is a Necron specialist, and the podcast is the Necron Specialist Podcast. So big shout out to you. Make sure you check that one out, guys.
Oh, he's playing Star Shatter, which I think most Necrons are, and the reason why I don't like this detachment is because there's almost no reason to play any other detachment. Anyway, I'm sure we all have my rant about that. Okay, so he's got 3 enhancements. I'm assuming one of these is -1 damage, one of them is fall back and shoot, and one of them is ignore cover on the Locust Lord, I'm going to assume. Silent King, so he's gone for the Silent King route, which I personally like. But I know a lot of people argue that you should be playing the Catacomb Command Barge to get more points to play the mission more. So there's two kind of branches that divert off when you play Star Shadow. One is you're going to go Silent King and have less chaff units and use that as a bully piece. The other one is going to go Command Barge with reroll ones, and then that's going to give you more chaff to play the mission. So where the meta settles on that eventually, who knows? It's got a Reanimator, cool, good for doing actions. 3 Doomsday Arcs, and this is going to be the most common archetype you'll see. 3 Doomsday Arcs, Silent King, etc. Right? 2 units of 5 Flayed Ones. Once again, he's opted to split them up so that he wants to, do actions, make sure you're trying to hold primary, screen the board. 2 units of Little Destroyers, 35 points each. 1 Heavy Destroyer with the Ghost Destructor. Another Heavy Destroyer with the Ghost Destructor. These are just the flat 6 damage one. Once again, I think he's going for the kind of do an action, threaten a flat 6 damage kind of shot here. 1 unit of Locust Heavy Destroyers, these with the 36 shot one. And now you can get that with hitting on 2s and ignore cover. So you can really crank out. It's actually really good against even like anti-tank profiles, Vic, because you basically force like 20 saves at -1 ignore cover, for example. So really good.
I've seen Magnus get shredded by these guys.
And then 2 units of Scorpic Destroyers. I would have liked to have seen, if I was looking at it, I would have liked to seen one of these be an Ophidian unit. I really like Ophidians. They can bounce up and bounce down. And they have, on Star Shadow, they do a lot of damage too. And then you would give you 15 points to upgrade another unit somewhere else, perhaps. So, interesting choice. But I think it's a super solid list. I think this list is not as... This list definitely gets a lot worse from the new changes for the angle map, where the ruin is basically completely closed in your objective. It becomes very dense. So attacking your opponent's primary is a lot harder with this list now. But at the same time, it does require quite a good pilot, I think, as well. It's not exactly obvious where to put your assets here and how to play them and how to play the ranges and stuff like that. So
yeah, you could just lose games even if you're killing your opponent with this very easily.
Yep. Yeah, if you don't play your Silent King, like you need to play your Silent King like as aggressive as you possibly can. You need to skirt right on the edge of him, like maybe dying and getting as much value out of him as possible. Yep, positioning is key. So yeah, really cool list. I'm really interested to see how Matt does. I think it's got good potential here.
Come on, Matt.
Nice. Well, were there any other factions that we wanted to look at here? We've gone through Brian, Matt.
You had a CSM list, I think.
We could go through a little CSM. We've got Lee Churchward from 6++. Playing the CSM. Lee's been playing CSM for a long time, and he's a guard player as well. He's playing the Creations of Bile.
Hey, okay.
Awesome. Now, what do you think about Creations of Bile, Vic?
I think they're good. I'm still 50-50 on if Renegade Raiders is not just slightly better for the same archetype. Just because of that one stratagem the Renegades Raiders have to let you fall back in the fight phase is insane. And there's that little bit of unpredictability with Bile in terms of the buffs you get, because there are some games, you're going to hit +1 toughness on a breakpoint and also +1 attack and just absolutely obliterate anything, or +1 strength on a breakpoint as well. But I do think both the archetypes work into Possessed really nicely. And I think that's a big part of what's going to be strong, I think, with CSM.
Possessed are really good for the points. They do a huge amount of damage. They're fast. They're a really good all-round profile, aren't they? You get a lot of wounds there, good toughness, fast, a lot of damage.
Dev wound option once per game as well. Lets them kind of chew through vehicles a little bit. But yeah, I think CSM is solid. Whether or not they really fit this meta, I'm not fully sure. I think they're just solid.
Okay, let's say I'm playing Bile. Does that mean I'm only good against melee armies, Vic, or is it like more all round than it used to be? Because Bile used to be the old one, right? It was like 4 automatic fight on death and stuff like that, right?
This one doesn't really is not really leaning into the anti melee so much, to be honest. It's just like more about buffing your units up. You have advanced in charge as an option, but you also kind of mutate your units and make them a little bit stronger. So it just kind of makes everything hit a little bit harder than Renegade Raiders, kind of, because Renegade Raiders get an extra AP on objectives as well, which is kind of huge.
Ooh, that's quite nice, yeah.
So losing that means that the damage kind of balances out, but there are some times where this list is just faster and hits harder.
Yeah, nice. And hitting fast and hard in a 400-player tournament?
Absolutely.
Not a bad idea.
And talking about this guy, the Chaos Lord, the Prime Test guy, is like +1 damage or something. He's a crazy dude. So
what?
He hits extremely hard. So he usually goes in a unit of Legionaries.
Right, yeah. Make it just like a good amount of value unit there.
Yeah, Cypher is just brilliant for 90 points with the Vectora and Lone Up. Fabius Bile joins the unit, buffs them up a little bit, often goes in the unit of Chosen.
He gives you a blank, doesn't he? And he also gives you a one little model as well. So he basically gives you 2 blanks in one big turn, right? It's quite
Kind
sick.
of, yeah. The Surgeon's Acolyte gives you the
Yep.
blank, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the Cultists, and how many units of Legionaries?
2
Two.
units of Legionaries.
Okay, this is looking like a really standard list here. Triple Rhino?
Rhino. Okay.
Triple Rhino? That means there's more Chosen here. Okay.
Wow. One
Triple
unit.
Rhino.
15 chosen by the looks of it.
Okay, so he's got the big unit of Chosen to go with Bile.
Wow.
We've got a little unit of Chosen here, which I guess are going with that Chaos Lord Prime Test guy.
Yep.
He's got Nemesis Claw, which is the kill team, the Night Lord's kill team.
Turns off the stratagems.
Yeah, they have the Voice Eater, which turns off stratagems, which is awesome.
20 possess?
Beautiful.
And then 2 War Dog Huntsmen.
Yes.
Wow.
Perfect. I think these are quite good. Yeah.
Why would you play War Dog Huntsman over a... that's the same as a...
So you've got the guy who gets +1 to hit, right? The guy who's on
Brigand.
twos, the Brigand. But I think that's quite a bit more expensive than this guy.
They have a Chain Talon and a Demon Breast Spear. So they're melee and Melter, basically.
Which I think is perfect. That's quite
nice. That's pretty cool. But would you play them over a Predator?
Actually, I think this is smart. I think this is flat better than a Predator.
Really? But they can't benefit from the army rule, though, right?
Yeah, but the army rule doesn't really help the Predators, is the thing. So
you can still do Dark Pact, right?
Yeah, you can still Dark Pact. Yeah, true. But I do think that these guys give you a little bit of kind of medium-y hard anti-tank.
Oh, okay.
Which the list really needs, right? I think you can shred infantry with this list.
Yeah.
But you get locked down a little bit by vehicles. This is really clever. Cool. I think
Spicy
this is great.
List.
Yeah, I like it.
Nicely. Yeah, there's nothing here where I'd be like, oh, that doesn't really make sense. I mean, you get a lot of stuff in CSM these days, right?
Yeah, I have a feeling this is very similar to what Anthony Vidala used to win a GT. He won with Bile, so I think it's almost identical. Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, cool archetype there. Maybe I'm going to do a quick look. Remember, we talked about Custodes, right? And Custodes has been pretty popular, right?
They are. Whenever possible, they are.
Yes, so I want to look up. I'm going to look through the Custodes and look and see if we've got some archetypes here. So we've got Liam Caliber from Vanguard Tactics.
Okay.
And then we've got... let's look at Kylo Turley. He's been playing for a long time as well. So, I'm going to... Whoa. Hello, everyone.
Oh, hello, Dave.
Classic. I'm a bit sick, guys. Sorry.
Oh, no.
I'm going to claim that one. Let's tab instead. Cool. So, this is the... Shield Host detachment is...
Shield Host is not the new detachment.
Not the new detachment. So we're not going to be looking at this. Show me the new detachment, Solar Spearhead. That's got to be
That's it. Yeah.
Bit of Solar Spearhead action here. Now, okay, so 3 Contempted Dreadnoughts.
Screen, Dave.
No, I should be sharing the...
on dynamic...
Oh, my apologies. Oh my god, everyone's been looking at my big face.
There we go.
Oh, apologies, guys. It's the first one back in the new year. So we've got 3 Contempted Dreadnoughts. These are the ones that get back up, right?
That's it. Yeah, you got it.
2 Telemans, which is interesting, because I've heard that people are saying only play the ones that get back up. Telemans are a bit more expensive.
Oh, really? I think
and then
Telemans in there.
It's actually for 3 Telemans. And then 2 Grav Tanks, and 1 unit of Wardens and a Blade Champ, and some small chaff. So, man, it's a pretty narrow list, right? You get 2 Grav Tanks, 6 Dreads, a unit of Wardens, and some stuff.
Yeah, there's not much there. You kind of just jam it at your opponent and hope for the best.
Yeah. I think this is going to be quite a common archetype, though, right? And that's why I wanted to highlight this kind of list and faction, is that if you're coming to the tournament or you're going to a tournament, this is kind of a reasonably common. Like, I expect to play against this. It's something that I had in my mind. I was like, well, I'm probably going to play against some Custodes players. What are the rough things that I need to look out for? So, yeah, Dreadnoughts and tanks. And hopefully a Kaldis Grav Tank and Dreadnought's not going to be able to get through my guys fast enough.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a good amount of volume there.
No, that's not what I want to hear.
Deceptively good amount of volume, but it's all just down to the 4-up saves, Dave. Yep. If you get through a few of those 4-up saves and a couple of these pieces fall down, they're never getting through you.
Yeah.
But if he passes every single one, you're going to die.
Okay, well, that doesn't sound great. I get AP to ignore cover on my small gun, so I'm hoping even the chat
should be fine.
Can shoot with him. Yeah. There we go. So that's kind of been the meta. What I'm going to go back to this tab. What are some hot takes, Vic? What What are some of your impressions?
I think we can't. My hot take is we can't predict who's going to win this tournament,
Yep.
but I think this is the perfect meta for one of two things. Number one is I think good players are going to do good. Yeah.
Okay.
I think never has a meta been so focused on your player skill over the list that you're bringing
Hmm.
in order to get a good run. One on one, any one individual game, a lot of times is going to come down to the slightly better list. But across an entire tournament, the good player is going to do good and I think go a bit further. Number two is I think there's a good chance for people who, maybe are not so well known to come out with innovation, let their player skill really shine through. And I think this is going to be our next phase of seeing a lot of new people come through towards the top of the meta. So
Cool.
I'm very excited to see who shines through there.
Nice. Any factions that you think are going to underperform relative to how popular they are on this graph?
I don't think so, really.
I think
I
Necrons are going to underperform.
do you think
Weird
so?
take. After I said the detachment is the best detachment in the game, it is the best detachment in the game, but it doesn't have the best data sheets. I think, given how
I don't
popular they
think
are,
so.
yeah.
I think on UKTC, I think Necrons will do well.
Okay.
And I think as a community, our Necron players are quite good.
Sure. Yep.
So I think they'll do quite well and get around any issues
Okay.
that they might have with scoring.
There we go. We'll have to see how Space Marines do coming out of this as well. Ultramarines. We're going to have a huge amount of data, and particularly a huge amount of data from like the middle of the pack as well here. So it'll be
Yep.
really interesting to see what the win rate comes out like that as well.
And top four cut, I'm expecting all four Eldar players, to be honest. So we'll see how that goes.
It could be whoever, right? Like like realistically, the way I look at a tournament like this is whether or not you make the top cut. If you win all 5 of your games, if you make the top cut, it's basically just completely random because
Yeah.
it's going to be more determined by what quality, like caliber of opponent you played against, rather than whether or not your list was capable of making or deserved to be in a top cut. When you need to score almost 500 points over 5 rounds, probably should be good for Josh then, I presume.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be interesting. My money is on looking at the lists. My money is on Innis to get a 5-0.
Yep.
I think you and Nas, if you guys make the top cut, I have a feeling you'll win the tournament.
Okay, maybe.
But yeah.
I actually think your list has got a better chance of going 5-0. Weirdly enough, I think the Wraith Knight is actually deceptively good on the terrain where if you don't quite click on how it plays, it can catch you off guard real quick, and then all of a sudden you're in a problem when it fire invades off the ruin and then shoots you and moves back, and then it's still on the objective.
kills 4 orcs.
Yeah,
jumps back behind a wall.
Hopefully I can blow it up with my scions, baby. I just drop down. Got -1 damage though. Yeah. There we go. I'm looking forward to it.
Goes.
I'm pretty excited to play the new guard, to be honest. We've got some good testing here. We've also got the ITT coming up in February, first week of February as well. So
yes,
spicy. That's a big team tournament as well.
Yeah, lots of like really big teams are going to be there, so that's going to be a very interesting one.
Be cool. I don't know what I'm going to play for that tournament yet. So we have to see.
Nottingham.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There we go, everyone. Hopefully you've had a good time. I'm going to have to stitch the videos back together. But like Vik and I were saying about as well, if you made it to this part of the podcast, then thank you very much for listening. I am coaching at the moment as well, as you'll probably hear about. But in addition to that, I do the team consultation coaching. So I've got 2 teams for that right now for November. So for February. And the teams that I coached previously have done really, really well as well. So do look into that if you're a little bit unsure on how to get your team looking good for February. And shout out to all our members. And before I forget, a couple of questions. What advice do I have for someone who can only get 1 or 2 games in a week to prepare for a big GT?
Believe it or not, 1 or 2.
That is basically where I'm at, mate. Or that's slightly more than what I've been playing recently. So what do I think about that? If you have a small amount of time, you really need to focus on one faction, of course, and then spend more time in your day lining up a higher quality game for practice than just picking up one. So for like the couple of days beforehand, try and spend more time specifically asking about, can I get this practice into this specific army? And only focus on things that you are super unsure about rather than matchups that you may play someone, regularly on a regular basis.
I would also add, because as someone who doesn't get to play much practice games, because I don't really find 3 hours spare for that, I learn a lot from watching other people play. So jumping in for 1.5 hour, and 2 channels which have really helped that is the Tryhard Discord is good, And the Team England Discord is very good as well. Team England one has like 8 games going on a night, so it's good to jump in and find your factions, and it's like open to everyone.
Bootstrap it up. There we go. Awesome. Any other closing words, Vik?
No, thank you, everyone. We're going to drop our members videos with a deep dive into both of our lists with more strategic advice with this video. So if you want to check that out, make sure to join the members side. If you have any questions, leave it below. Like, subscribe. Thank you.
I can smash that like button.
Thank you for listening to the 40k Fireside. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, drop us a comment, check out the YouTube members area, and we look forward to seeing you again next time by the Fireside.